It's alive!
How do we know she is alive?
I hate when people talk during the movie.
No wire hangers ever!
You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
Your stupid minds! Stupid! Stupid!
Relax. It's all in bad taste.
Ryan.
Liam.
Just seeing if you're here. If you had a ghost, right, if you so we're gonna hi everyone. I don't know how to start. If you had a ghost, what kind of ghost do you think it would be? Like, do you think it would have a specific personality? Do you think it would be like you know how there's like a chef ghost in this and a lion tamer ghost in this?
Oh.
And like a stupid ballerina ghost and shit like that, or like a lover's ghost.
I feel
like I would be a ghost, it would just be me.
Let's just go with I wouldn't be a ghost.
Okay.
That's the safe option.
You'd just be a demon or something. You'd just be in hell.
Preferably.
Hey everyone, it's Liam, and it's also Ryan. I should have let Ryan say that.
Hello.
We are here recording Aftertaste, our 0.5 episode, where we continue to look into the behind the scenes of what makes our favourite best worst films just as bad as they are. I keep playing around with the intro, but I'm not sure if it's quite working. So if it's not, just tell me and I'll
One
stop.
day we'll land on something.
One day I will be consistent, but it's not today. And speaking of inconsistent movies, this is the original 1960s version of the story, directed by William Castle, that the Stephen Beck movie is loosely based off. I say loosely because it has more or less the same plot, but not necessarily thematically or tonally.
Okay, wait.
Oh, God, he
so
disagrees with me. We're like 5 minutes in the podcast and he's already disagreeing with me.
I'll wait till later, but there are things in this I'm looking at, and I'm wondering now, in retrospect, if they were an homage in some way.
What, is it the 13 Ghosts in any way?
No, not them. Why do you think they were connected?
Is it the spirit goggles?
No, get on with your fucking shit.
I'm trying to guess now. So this came out 1 year after William Castle's seminal feature horror film House on Haunted Hill, which has gone down as to be one of the greatest horror films of all time. Rightly so. I've not seen it in a long time, but I can still remember. Mostly the thing that stands out the most for me is Vincent Price's performance in that film.
Vincent Price?
Vincent Price. Michelle Pfeiffer. We're just going down with every name that begins with a P.
Vincent Price is a big one for me. I remember when I was younger listening to him do a reading of Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven, and I used to listen to that on repeat consistently. Anything he's in, he just gives such a spellbinding, gravity-bound performance.
It's out of this world. Everything he's ever done. It's a level of camp that I aspire to at some point in my career.
Even down to the Simpsons episode he's in.
He has such a presence in everything he touches to where he's usually the most memorable thing in everything he's in. But I remember that film, regardless of Vincent Price, he has... the Castle manages to craft a beautiful gothic horror film in the set design, in the tension, in the build-up. Something he fails to capture, I think, here. We are going to get into what we think about this film, but I do think he fails on most levels with this follow-up.
That I'm not going to argue with.
Now, before we get too much into this movie, we are going to do a kind of split 0.5 this week, where we'll be having me and Ryan on the dissection of the 1960s version of 13 Ghosts, and we will have the full cast and our special guest, Tom, from the Warm Tins Film Club, on our listener questions.
We couldn't convince anyone else to watch it.
Yeah, they're all...
they made the right move.
They're all part-timers. They aren't getting paid enough for this shit, apparently. And by that, I mean they're not getting paid. Me and Ryan are going to have a quick chat about the William Castle 13 Ghosts. It starts off, interestingly enough, I think. It starts off very similarly to the remake, where it's a family, it's the Zorba family. Cyrus Zorba.
I mean, you're wrong. Immediately, you are wrong. So the remake of 13 Ghosts opens up with the lorry scene.
I didn't mean that, though. The premise is the same. It's the same kind of, basic...
Yeah, but we see some beforehand scenes where before the family receive the notice that their mysterious uncle from out of town is away, in the remake, there's a whole scene where he's chasing down the ghost, and people are getting murdered and killed straight away.
They put a much bigger emphasis, I think, on famed adventurer. Is it famed adventurer or is it notorious adventurer?
Noted adventurer.
Noted adventurer. There's a lot more of a focus on him, whereas he's kind of more of a background character in the original. He's more of a presence than an actual character. The house is a lot less elaborate as well. We're kind of just tread to this very standard 1960s suburban home, frequented by the Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah, I think
it's a permanent resident.
I think it's implied to be a mansion, but I think we see all in all like 4 rooms the entire time.
It's a reasonably sized set, is what it is.
But yeah, it does come with a witch maid who is the literal Wicked Witch of the West from The Wizard of Oz.
They refer to her throughout the entire film as a witch. Like, all the kids are like, "Oh, by the way, yeah, have you seen the witch who lives here?" And she's just a maid. Like, she's just they're so rude to her. Like, she's in the other room and they're like, "Oh, what's that witch doing?"
She was in the other room. She was stood on the stairs.
Yeah, she is played by Margaret Hamilton, who obviously claim to fame was from the 1939 Wizard of Oz, playing the Wicked Witch of the West, and she does a fantastic performance here. I think
as a witch.
She's
the first scene you do see her, she is carrying a broom. I will note that
she's got a very handsome face. It was one of those moments where I looked at her, I was like, "That's that. She's the Wicked Witch of the West." Like, before I even googled it, it's very distinctive, warts and all. But I think
I enjoyed her performance.
I enjoyed everyone's performance.
Not that she was in it much or did much, but she has a presence about her.
I think everyone in this movie actually is having a lot of fun, and I think that's one of the few really positive takeaways you can say about this movie. I think the movie as a whole is kind of stilted and a little bit dry. But yeah, let's continue with the plot a little bit. So it's very similar where the family move into the house. They're told they can't sell the house. That's one big stipulation, that if they sell the house, it'll go to the state. So they have to live here. But unfortunately, it is haunted by 12 ghosts.
12 ghosts.
They have that same fail-safe that they have in the movie where the dad is basically meant to be the 13th ghost. But there is a twist that I won't spoil. Maybe it's not the dad.
We won't spoil it for the next 10 minutes.
I feel like I spoiled it anyway, yeah. Spoiler alert for this 56-year-old film, or however fucking old it is. Like, the lawyer in the remake is kind of meant to be... He's much more of a character in this.
Yeah, he has much more of a presence in this film. It confirms more or less that he murdered Uncle Zorba in this movie, whereas in the next one, it's not... Well, he didn't kill him because he's still alive, but he's just hunting for treasure. Yeah, the same plot is going on, that he is hunting for treasure and he ropes the son in to, like, oh, we'll be our little secret book.
I learned something. Regardless of whether or not I enjoyed this movie, I think I mentioned this on the other episode as well. I actually learned something about this from this movie even. And I learned that Ouija board, which in my notes I've written down Ouija board, is actually the name Ouija. We in French is yes, and ja in German is yes. So it's a yes board.
I feel like you've phrased this like it's a revelation, like you've drawn the words out slowly and dramatically, but this is not a revelation. This shouldn't be news.
Write in if you didn't know that Ouija board is a yes board.
Like, or don't embarrass yourself like that.
Like I did. But now I know how to spell it, which is really cool. So yeah, the more you know, and knowing is half the battle.
Thanks, G.I. Joe.
You're fucking welcome. Yeah, all the attempts at horror in this are just that crazy, campy level, like 1960s, everything you'd expect from a haunted house film. The wind rustling, the curtains blowing. It's like this one
it's not even the house, it's not even just the house that's haunted by the wind. They're in the lawyer's office. And when they receive the will and the lawyer steps out, the windows start blowing through the wind.
The family is like followed from the entire movie by this ominous wind that pushes them in every direction. It's just, again, it's just like Scooby-Doo level theatrics. There's one particularly brilliant scene where they have this like scene. There's maybe like a menacing fly that's buzzing around the family's head as they're reading the will.
String fly.
It's a plastic fly to string. Like, you can pretty much see the string. It's fucking hilarious.
That goes for everything in this. All of the effects and everything is so badly done. I know it was 60s.
Yeah.
However, there is still better ways to do things.
Yeah, well, it's the ghost. Like, specifically, the one thing we praised about, we couldn't stop talking about how well the ghosts were designed in the remake. Whereas the one in this one's from the Man in the Sheet collection. This one is the Halloween.
If only I would kill for a man in a sheet. That would have been appreciated.
This one is the guy who's clearly like 6 feet tall because his head's below his like neckline, and like he's like decapitated. But there's like even the fake lion, like the CG. It's not even CG. They just like superimposed this lion into one scene.
This famous lion, mate.
What is it? Is it the MGMT? Is it the MGM lion or something? If it's the MGM lion, that's going to be
Kitty
cool.
Cat from the Addams Family.
No.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty famous. I think it does loads of shit. But yeah, Kitty Cat.
I bet it's the MGM lion. It will be, won't it? The one that like...
Oh, probably. It's called Zamba.
Oh, he was the highlight of the film. I mean,
although they couldn't superimpose him correctly, so he was always 3 times the size.
I also couldn't tell because it looked like either he had a saddle on or his body was just cut in half, and I can't tell whether that was intentional or not.
Peculiar. Either way.
But yeah, the ghosts in this, they are at least kind of creative if they look like Halloween decorations. They have one's a chef, one's a lion tamer, one's like a couple. I love the chef one because he has this like really It's called Emilio. The chef.
Mustache is gigantic. All you can see is his little chef hat.
It's adorable. It's like I don't know if any American listeners know. You know the like Little Chef chain of restaurants in England. They might have them in America and Europe. Do you remember Little Chef? They were like always on every single motorway, but I never knew a single person who ever went inside of a Little Chef.
It was like It was just so expensive. Us working families didn't attend.
I feel like Little Chef is the actual 13th ghost. I feel like we've cracked the code. But yeah, at the very least, they are. If they are not very low budget and very campy, they're at least kind of cute in the most embarrassing way.
In the most embarrassing way. But, I mean, that doesn't just go for this movie. The spinning flame wheel was also an effect in Star Trek. It was an alien monster on Star Trek episodes.
Well, that makes sense. Obviously, Star Trek started out at the same time as this. It was. I want to kind of really quickly talk about William Castle because he's a fascinating guy. A guy I didn't really know that much about before like getting into this. But Castle is one of those guys who he almost feels like a Roger Corman type, where he like had his hand in every single movie, every single pie. I think from about 1945 to 1975, he directed 58 movies in that space and time. And I'm no mathematician, but that's at least one a year.
Well done, you, for that, for those calculations.
I wish I knew more about him. I wish he was like, he produced, I know he was a producer on Rosemary's Baby, the classic
That's
Polanski
great.
film.
I love Rosemary's Baby.
That sounded so insincere when you said, that's great. I love Rosemary's Baby.
Oh, I meant the movie's great.
Yeah.
That's 58 movies is a lot, though. He must have really enjoyed himself.
Well, this is the thing. I think he was one of those guys who just kind of directed for most of them I've never even heard of, let alone seen. House on Haunted Hill is the only one that I think really gained much notoriety.
Kind of like Nicolas Cage just does anything that's offered him.
Yeah. It's laughably camp. Again, like John Waters would blush at the level of camp on display here. And I think for a lot of the beginning of maybe the first half of the film, it is pretty fun. But there is like this moment halfway through where everything kind of starts to drag once you kind of realize they've played all their tricks. I think this is a film that gets all of its cool tricks out in the first 30 minutes and then it's left to the last hour of kind of tedious. We know who the bad guys are. We know what's going to happen. We know what's going on. And now we're just kind of running down the clock. And it really starts to drag from for me anyway, like the 40-minute mark onwards.
Yeah. Well, you get the Ouija board scene where they're playing with the Ouija board and the picture frame falls. I think that's around about when you see the ghosts properly for the first time or just before that.
The ghosts aren't even subtle about it. They're just like there.
Just there. Well, once you've seen them once, you've seen them. They don't do anything different or change. I'm pretty sure they just repeat the same scenes.
And they're very unthreatening as well. There's not a moment where you're actually worried about these ghosts hurting anyone. Like the worst they do is
Emilio has a temper tantrum in the kitchen.
Yeah,
he throws a knife at the wall.
Yeah, that's probably the most threatening thing that's ever. But the rest of the time they're just like knocking plant pots over and fucking spilling salt and shit like that.
But it's weird because it's implied that the ghosts aren't actually evil and the house is just cracking on with them. But at the same time, the chef was said to have chopped up his wife, his mother-in-law, and a bunch of other ladies. So it's a bit of a weird, what are they actually doing here? Are they bad? Are they not bad? But I mean, the overall achievement for me was the actual elaborateness of the death of Uncle Zorbo. So
please go into it. I'm excited for this.
So he was suffocated, was the cause of death, and they blamed the ghost, and the police were fine with that.
They just didn't even question it.
That didn't matter.
No follow-up questions.
But you see, there's a little dial on the bedpost, because it's a 4-poster bed with a canopy. There's a tiny little dial on one of the frames hidden behind the curtain. And if you turn that, the canopy ever so slowly lowers down.
He's not kidding when he says slowly. It's like you could make a cup of tea in the space of time it takes for it to fully enclose on a person.
But I don't understand who put that. Whoa, how? How is that? Why?
I just feel like the guy who designed the house in the remake, that was like his first project. That was his like baby's first death trap. Yeah, like baby's first cube moment where he's like, I'll start off small, and then they just didn't do the rest of the house.
Jigsaw's first kill.
I mean, this is the problem. I think again why the remake greatly surpasses it. First of all, the remake has Matthew Lillard in, like we mentioned on the main episode. But secondly, I think the creativity, there's a lot more in the remake. Like the house, as elaborately dumb as it is, at least there is a lot more presence there. There's a lot more character to that house, whereas this is just very standard. It all feels a little bit too unspectacular for me.
The house is constantly shifted in the remake.
Yeah.
You're constantly aware of it because it's always letting you know that this house itself the house itself was more of a threat than a ghost, let's be honest.
Yeah. Well, again, like, even if you compare it to something like House on Haunted Hill, which, again, has a very gothic feel, I don't feel like tonally this film has anything going for it. It's one of those things where it's just standard haunted house film. There's no real lingering tension. There's no...
barely that. It feels like it's just a suburban family movie with some weird holographs thrown in.
Yeah, I mean, the highlight of the scene is Emilio, the ghost mustache. And then, apart from that, it's pleasantly unspectacular. It's not a film I would outright say... this is absolute garbage, never watch it. Because I wasn't... as bored as I was near the end, there were moments of intrigue, and there were moments where I was like, okay, this is kind of cute.
If for no other reason, watch it for the weird ghost effects.
Yeah, watch it for... if you are really, really into that level of 1960s camp, and really into that level of kind of... I don't even know what to say. It's because it's not interesting enough to really recommend to anyone.
No, don't expect like amazing acting either. The kid, in fact, had to be billed above the parents for him to act. 'Cause I think the kid was supposed to be a big deal at the time.
He was like, I remember reading, he was a big kind of child actor in the 60s.
But didn't he do just a couple of movies and then the features
just
dried up? I think he went into TV after that, and that's how he saw his career.
The actor's name's Charles Herbert. He was the guy who played Buck in the movie. He had top billing, weirdly. And I know he was in a few kind of, again, very campy science fiction horror films. He was in The Fly, the original 1950s.
Don't say that was your fact. That was my fact. I knew that, and I taught you something today, people.
But he was literally in The Fly, the 1958 version of The Fly. And he was in a movie called The Long, Long Trailer, which I'm only assuming is a long, long trailer. And then he did a lot of TV work. He was in The Twilight Zone for a few episodes, the 1962 version of The Twilight Zone.
It's not loads to go off there, then.
He was meant to be a big star, you're right. And then
they gave him up, and then I don't know what happened. I mean, if he wouldn't act unless he was top billing, maybe that speaks to his character.
Maybe his parents were just super pushy. Maybe he was like had a tiger mum or something. I don't fucking know. But yeah, 13 Ghosts. I'm about ready to give my final thoughts on this one, Ryan.
Yeah.
I have very few thoughts on this one, Ryan.
Very few thoughts on this. The money was in the stairs. He's sliding down the banister, revealed the money.
Right, that really confused my brain. I was like, the money for the film was in the stairs?
No, the lawyer doing the treasure hunt.
Right, I thought you meant the production team spent all of the money on the stairs, and I was like, that seems like a really weird fact. Like, what was it? Was it like plated gold? Like, what's going on?
It was kind of, unspectacular. Nothing really happened. The Wicked Witch of the West was fairly entertaining, but she's not in it very often. I do love the end, though, where they said the ghosts are gone. And then the kid's like, are the ghosts really gone? She's like, oh, they'll be back. Next scene, the ghosts are back. Within seconds, they've returned.
They don't even waste any time. But yeah, for me, no Matthew Lillard, 0 out of 10. Next. No, honestly, it's pleasantly unspectacular. It's everything you'd expect from like a 5 out of 10 movie, where it's not really great, but not bad enough to really completely hate either. And also not entertaining enough to recommend to anyone. If you accidentally watch this, like if you're on a plane and it's this or like, I don't know, The Last Airbender and you have 2 choices and you have a really long flight, yeah, that's fine. It would maybe be worth watching. But then again, we have iPhones now. We have smartphones, so you can download something on Netflix. So if you are stupid enough not to prepare for a long flight and it's your only option out of 2,
I will say, get on YouTube and have a look at the ghost. So I keep bad-mouthing it, but I really want everybody to see how bad the effects are and how bad the ghosts are. So please do that for me.
Before we leave, though, I do want to mention I think this film is remembered more for its marketing and more for the fact that it gave all of its audience members in the 60s when this came out in cinemas. They gave audience members the spirit finders. What they called the spirit. What I know the name for them. The visualizers. The spirit levels. Fucking no.
Don't try and pull me down into the sinking ship.
You can buy them on eBay. Like basically what they are, they're like those blue and red 3D glasses.
So it caused a lot of confusion because a lot of people thought they were 3D glasses because it has the red and blue filter, and instead of being on each eye, it was just a lens separately for both eyes. If you look through the blue, the ghost will be more enhanced. If you look through the red, the ghost will be less enhanced.
I really want to know how this works. Like you can buy them on eBay, and there's a really stupid part of me that wants to get get them. They're like 40 quid or something.
I forbid it.
But I want to know, if I put the film on and I look through one, how they would enhance the ghost.
Apparently, you can still see the ghost regardless.
Well, yeah, I can't imagine they were that fucking high tech.
It'll just be the tint. They'll have
That's kind of cool. Like, as a concept, I think that's pretty cool. It's
They'll
a shame
have
that
less
the movie
blue
that
light.
they're in isn't interesting enough to really merit that gimmick, but, you know, at least it has that going for it. If you fancy buying me a pair of spectral viewers on eBay and sending them to, I'm not going to give my
Don't, please just give us the £40 instead.
But yeah, I think that's everything from us for 13 Ghosts. Join me in a minute while we get the rest of the crew in here and we do some listener questions. Okay, guys, we are here with some listener questions. We've still got Tom with us. We just can't get rid of him. We've tried everything.
I am now a spectre in
called the
the
Exorcist.
He's just been sat on Zencast the entire week.
He's joined Greg in the basement dungeon we have.
I'm a revenant, a spectre, a malignant energy.
Sorry, I don't understand any of the words you've just said. Can you please break it
Well,
down?
let me say it in plain speak for you. It's a ghost.
Fantastic. We have a few, not as many as last week. We have a few listener questions to get through. So we'll start with Kelsey Bird, who's asked us, who was your favourite ghost from the movie and why? Let's just go around. Tom, do you want to start us off?
The torso.
Oh, mid. Good shout.
Torso.
Yeah.
I like him. I related to him. Either that or the treat boy.
The treat boy.
I thought someone was just going to instantly go in and steal the jackal and just take that easy win quickly.
The jackal's too easy. The jackal's probably, it would be my pick because it is badass as fuck. But yeah, Jack and Hannah?
Have you taken the jackal there?
No, I want Fat Boy and
you want Fat Boy
Midget Granny
and the little granny.
Midget Granny.
I want those. I want to see them
yeah.
do more. Like, I can just imagine her like chopping a man up in the kitchen, just like, it'll be ready soon, dear. And he's like, I'm hungry, man. They start screaming and bouncing around.
Mother, I wish to eat.
Yeah, I think it is a jackal, but obviously we refer to him as Mikolash, host of Nightmares.
Yeah.
Mikolash.
Yes.
Mikolash. No.
Mikolash.
Mikolash. No, it's Mikolash. That's a Bloodborne reference for those who aren't in the know, by the way.
Those casuals out there.
Bloodborne is a video game. It's a very hard video game, but a very enjoyable video game. If you like dying a lot and HP Lovecraft, then check it out.
Thanks for that plug.
I was about to say, what are you on commission? What's going on?
No, I just love me
Do
a
you work
Zaki.
for fucking...
I don't need to.
He's on From Software.
That bad boy sells itself.
Absolutely.
Hannah, my dear?
What's the one? I can't remember her name. The one that every
Of course
time
you don't.
You don't remember anything ever.
Every time you look at her, she's got like black thingy hair, but she looks like she's having like a seizure, like every time.
Oh, the
And
bound,
that's
the bound woman. That was the bound woman.
Yeah.
That's the only shot you see of her ever, and it looks like she's on like some like a
Yeah, I think she's meant
on
to
the
be,
top
like,
of the
hand-
washing machine when it's going.
Well, she's
just
like getting herself off. Like, those vibrations, man.
well, she's
Good
not
vibrations.
anymore.
So you picked the most boring one. Well done.
Congrats.
What was your favorite? The same question. Same person. Sorry, said. What was your favorite quote from 13 Ghosts?
A truck full of blood? You gotta be shitting me.
Either that or famed adventurer, fucking Caleb.
Noted adventurer
That's
Cyrus
the one.
Criticos.
Apologise to his ghost, Liam.
Sorry. Oh, sorry.
No, he's not a ghost.
He is now.
He's a man.
I think for me it was still Shaggy from Scooby Doo.
Yeah,
but it was one of the first lines in the film. It's breathing down my neck, man. And it was just like the delivery was so it was just the way he delivered it was just felt
So Matthew Lillard.
So nice.
Yeah, it just felt like okay, so you have one gear, right? Okay, that's good.
Hannah?
I feel like all the good ones have been good.
Yeah.
I got it there
I
early.
keep leaving you to last because I know you don't have an answer. So. Okay, so
I just remembered the other one. Fuck. Oh no, it's gone. It's gone as soon as it came in. What is it? No, it's completely
That's
gone.
how I
Sorry.
feel 90% of my life.
you've just experienced what we like to affectionately refer as the Hannah effect, or just early onset Alzheimer's. I'm not sure which one. Really cool question. So I asked about like early noughties horror films as well. Brad Kelsey asked us what your favorite Final Destination kill is. I'll let you guys take this first because I'll try and pick one that's not too obvious. Ryan, do you want to start us off? In fact, no, let's let Hannah start us off, because I always end with her. Come on, Hannah.
So it'll either be the laser eye surgery one, because
That's fucking sick. I will never get my eyes done ever because of that. I don't trust
I
it.
was so scared for you, Liam, when you were getting yours done. It was just a rerun of that scene in my head for like 2 months beforehand.
A bit of insider knowledge, it is not even close to being like that. Like, it couldn't be less far from the truth.
It's way more painful
they,
and far more dangerous.
They dig your eye out and then do the surgery while it's still attached to your fucking retina.
It's the pigeon boy glass squish scene after that.
That's Final Destination 2.
Oh, so directly after that
God.
one. I don't think that's my favourite, but I think my favourite's going to be the gymnastics scene.
In 5, yeah.
In 5, where she's doing a routine and then the chalk powder gets blown from the fan, the ball comes loose from the bars and she lands and snaps in two, and her head's just between the legs. It's disgusting.
Well, that's an exceptional exercise in that kind of slow build tension where it's like, what's actually going to take it back?
Yeah, because there's a horse with a tack on it and you think she's going to stand on that and slip off and break her neck, but she doesn't. She misses it.
She just eats herself into crippled oblivion. Jack?
I think it's the acupuncture one for me. It still makes me...
one.
Squirm.
Makes me think every time I think about it.
Another thing I'm not getting done is acupuncture, because if you do slip, that's what it's going to be like. If that table leg gives out, you're fucked.
I do like how Final Destination just plays on those common fears of everyday, like everything's going to kill you. Usually fuck anyway.
I went to a sauna for about a year after that one where that woman gets trapped.
Oh, the sunbeds.
Oh, God, she boils.
Oh.
Yeah.
Every time you drive behind a lorry, you're sitting there going... Ooh.
Tom, do you have a favourite?
Watch out for logs. It's also based on an everyday fear. Italians, the spaghetti one from Final Destination 1.
Genius scene. Again, it's another one that like slow builds, doesn't it? And it just kind of...
There could be like 9 different things that kill him in that, and then it's a fucking spaghetti and a ladder. So good.
I feel like mine's a little bit cheating because it's the scene from Final Destination, the opening scene with the logs, because again, that's kind of the one that's linked.
Yes.
The whole car crash, it's so well choreographed and so well put together. And it has had that lasting effect on every single time. I will leave the lane as soon as I'm behind a truck full of logs.
I feel like that's the fear that comes from Final Destination, though. You don't get the fear when you watch it. You just then get the fear when you walk about in everyday life.
Life is the real horror movie.
Literally, it's probably of acupuncture, gymnastics, laser eye surgery.
It just turns you into an agoraphobe. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Brad Kelsey, for that question. We've got a question from Too Kind to Rewind. Really cool guy on Instagram. What is your must-see list of late 90s, early 2000s horror? So if we could just maybe pick one film from that period. Hannah, you can choose 13 Ghosts. You can have the one you've just watched, because it's the only one you're going to remember.
Well, I'm bad with eras, but I know Candyman was that era.
Candyman's
Tony
a
Todd
masterpiece.
is absolutely fantastic. He can be in any horror movie, and I will watch it and appreciate him for him.
Yeah.
Go watch it if you haven't. If you had it, specifically.
Tom, do you have any? Oh, you want to...
2 words. Jason X.
Oh,
amazing film.
Yes!
I'm going to go on record.
Yes, I haven't thought about that movie in so long. It's so good. I'm going to watch it again tonight.
You know what? I feel like Jason X shares so much in common with films like 13 Ghosts, because again, it's just dumb as fuck.
It's Alien with a zombie on board.
It's so fucking funny.
Again, it has
where he
cryo
upgrades
death scene,
himself. Right? And there's the famous scene with the sleeping bag. Just so kills me every time.
I'm gonna
Jason
go
X, 100%.
Because I'm not a massive fan of the Friday the 13th franchise as a whole. I think most of them are pretty
Nor am
lackluster.
I.
Jason X is
I've only seen Jason X.
You've seen the best one. Jason X.
You've seen the best one. You've seen the one that's the most consistently fun again. Jack?
I think calling either a horror is a bit of a stretch. I'd say they're horror adjacent, I suppose.
Yeah.
Jason?
No. Probably The Cube.
Cube was on the
The Cube.
The Cube is fucking amazing.
All of the Cubes.
Yeah, The Cube is class. We watched Cube and then we watched Cube 2, and I was really disappointed they didn't call it Cube Squared. and then they could have had, the third part of the trilogy, Cube Cubed.
Well, they had Cube Zero. There was a prequel after that, right?
Oh, yeah, we saw that one.
Yeah.
That was good. Yeah.
Hypercube.
I wish I'd done a Cube Cubed, because that would have just made my life. But
it does seem like a wasted opportunity.
Other one would have probably been Dusk Till Dawn.
Ooh,
Yeah, man.
Fucking great film.
Man.
Classic.
2 films for the price of 1.
Yeah, there you go.
I've got a full-on list, so if you'll indulge me for about 20
do you want
seconds.
to let Hannah see if she has one before?
She doesn't, let's be
I'm
honest.
just agreeing with the other ones.
So, let's do this thing. The Faculty, Wishmaster, Candyman, Hellraiser 2. Hellraiser 1 is not that good. Hellraiser 2 is where you should start. 13 Ghosts, Scream 1 and 2. Jacob's Ladder, Stir of Echoes. Misery, Child's Play 2. Again, Child's Play 2 is a lot better. New Nightmare, really good Freddy film. Cube, Army of Darkness, People Under the Stairs, H2O, Valentine, Ginger Snaps, and Ginger Snaps Back.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Final Destination 1 and 2. Willards, Cabin Fever.
I'm in the mood for Misery again.
Wasn't H2O that program about Australian mermaids?
Yeah, that's what I thought when he said it. Yeah.
Terrifying. Fucking terrifying.
Did Resident Evil came out in 2002, didn't it?
Yeah. Again,
it doesn't quite count.
Also a stretch calling it a horror film, Tom. Let's
Definitely
be
a
entirely honest there.
I thought it was scary. I don't know what you're talking about.
Too Kind to Unrewind, thank you very much for that question. We've got a couple more. We've got one from our friend over at Tipsy Flicks. Hello, George. He asked us, what is the best horror remake and what is the worst horror remake you've ever seen? I'm going to exclude The Thing from this because it's too obvious.
Oh.
So apart from The Thing...
Okay, Friday the 13th worst remake. Not Friday the 13th worst remake. Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, it sucks.
Get in there quickly, that's mine. Worst remake ever. Best one, The Thing. No one said it yet, it's mine.
I literally said you weren't allowed The Thing.
You said it wasn't allowed, but you didn't claim it as yours, so it's mine.
Fair enough. I'm going to back you up on Nightmare on Elm Street. You can't do a Nightmare on Elm Street without Robert Englund. It's kind of blasphemy, so that's going to be the one for me. And best, I'm going to say the 2013 Evil Dead, which I again hesitate to call a remake because it's kind of more of a sequel. There's like that after the credit scene where they bring back Ash, and it's technically more of a sequel, but it was classified as a remake. So really cool, really gory, tonally very different film.
I don't know what my best remake is, but I know what my worst one is. Obviously, The Wicker Man.
The Wicker Man.
Oh, The Wicker Man.
Yes.
Wicker Man.
What's your problem with Nicolas Cage and bees, Jack?
How did I get burnt?
Wicker Man's a quality film. I like when he punches the bear.
I like when he roundhouse kicks the woman across a room.
His friends are going down a woman for a bike.
That is a 90-minute film with Nicolas Cage just assaulting various women. Hannah, do we have an answer?
No.
Tom, do you have an answer?
I don't have a best one that I can think of, and I don't know if this is particularly unfair, but I really hate the Dawn of the Dead remake. Like, a lot. No part because,
Zachary
our friend
Snyder
is involved in it.
Zachary J. Snyder.
Zachary Jehoshaphat Snyder took one of the classic horror films of all time and missed the point so brutally that he may as well have just made a totally different film.
Yeah, it's hard to call it a remake. Yeah, it's a difficult one. More than not, remakes tend to miss the mark, I think, at the minute. But we are getting a few. There's a few little gems in the mire of shit.
Cinderella.
Again, horror films, Ryan?
They were pretty horrific.
Just like one new film, please.
Thank you. Thank you, George, for that one. We actually do have one more question from a guy called, his user handle on Instagram is a.t.bag.
That's a really hilarious username.
I don't know who this guy is, but I don't know if you want to read his question out, Tom.
What did I even say?
Do you want me to tell you what you said? Do you want me to tell you what you said?
Could you read it to me and then I can't remember?
Will this review feature a talented, witty, and insightful special guest?
Oh, well, you answered your own question in that one, really, didn't you? No, absolutely not.
Not even close.
Instead, you got me, A.T. Bag. don't know what you expected.
Holy shit, I've just got that. I've just got that. Fuck. I feel like my whole world's just been... I feel like I've just been like... The veil is lifted. And I can see, finally. I can see and I don't even need eyes.
You don't need eyes to see.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you, everyone who sent questions in. Thank you again, Tom, from the Warm Tins. Find them over at Warm Tins Film Club on all your podcast streaming services and at Warm Tins. Is it just Warm Tins on Instagram and Twitter?
I think it's Warm Tins Pod.
Warm Tins Pod.
You think?
I think, yeah. That's the hard job. That Matt does that.
But yeah, thank you.
Matt'll be furiously messaging you.
I will not be doing that, actually.
Thank you again for joining us, guys, and we will see you next week. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.